Hi, I'm Kathy Lindsay. Welcome to FPB's Meet the Candidates. This Cable 10 program allows you, the viewer, to get a closer look at our candidates who are running for local office. We've gathered questions from the community, and now we have the opportunity to hear directly from the candidates how they feel about topics that are important to our community. This is all leading up to the primary, which is on May 17th this year. Today, our guest is Richard Tanner, and he's running for magistrate in the 5th District. So let's welcome Richard. Hi.
Hello. Thank you all for allowing us candidates to come here and express some of our opinions. And this is a great public service, and I want to thank you on behalf of all of us.
Well, thank you so much.
It's a great opportunity. Thank you.
We appreciate that. We really like doing it because we think it's really important. It's a community service. Because people need to know who's running to lead our community.
Well, again, thank you.
Okay.
That's correct. It's all about hopefully the community can get a grasp of who's running and how they think, and maybe we'll match up with some of them.
Okay.
I hope I do all the people in District 5.
Well, let's see how it goes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So you're running in the 5th District, which is the seat's currently held by Marty Booth, and she's chosen not to run again. So there's going to be a new person in that seat. So why don't you tell our viewers who may not be familiar with you a little bit about yourself and why you've chosen to run?
Okay, my name obviously is Richard Tanner.
Yeah.
I've lived in this community some 30 years, and the reason I'm running is Marty is my neighbor. She lives 2 or 3 houses down. I go to church with them, and she came by earlier in the year and suggested that she was not going to run again and would support me if I did. Now, I will tell you about my family, myself. I have my wife and I have been married. Nancy has been married 50 years, over 50. We have one daughter. Her name is Rebecca Martin. She's an educator. We have 2 grandchildren, Melissa and Tanner. We attend church at the St. Paul Methodist Church out on Louisville Road, and we feel very strongly about this community. We've been here long enough, and it's a pleasure to live here and gotten familiar with the needs and wants of the community.
That's great. So what experience do you have that you feel is going to be good for you to have on the fiscal court?
Well, I've got a lot of experience.
Okay.
I was a farmer. An educator. I've served honorably in the National Guard. I worked for 30 years with the Kentucky Magistrates and Commissioners Association as their executive director. That gives me an unbelievable amount of experience. I've worked with every county in the state of Kentucky. I've lobbied for them. I've set up meetings for county officials and state agencies, the Transportation Department, Department of Local Government, Tourism, almost all of them. Probably not so much in the education group because it's very separated, but yeah. It's been a learning for me for 30 years. We've gone through all manner of problems and issues, and I've done research for her, and I understand government completely. I understand government, how government works, and how it touches people's lives on an everyday basis. With that experience, I will be the most experienced candidate in the race.
Okay. Well, with that experience and knowing government, then you know when you sit on any governmental body that organizations, people, they have projects they want to get completed, which means they're going to come to you and they're going to ask for money. They need money. Everybody needs money. So how do you handle those types of requests? How would you handle those types of requests, and what do you see as your priorities for investments that we need to make in our community?
Well, you got to understand the budget process, yeah. And to do that, counties have to fund all the mandates first, and then whatever they have left is what you can decide how you want to help people and answer those requests for funds. Mm-hmm. There's some legal and some not legal, and so you have to make sure you're considering making legal contributions and help. Once you decide, once you get those requests, you definitely have to decide and put them in a stack of priorities of who is the most needy or what is the most pertinent thing to do. And then that's how you divide up the money that's left. That sets your priorities even from from Humane Society on down. I mean, those things are on up, whichever way you want to go that way. I mean, economic development, all those are decided with that extra money that you have left after you fund the mandates. And so you understand the budget, and that's how you fund and set up priorities for those requests.
Okay. Well, what do you see as the top priorities for your district in particular?
Well, my district in particular it's always about infrastructure, not only roads. Sewer and water is very important in my district because of Farmdale and Coolbrook area have sewer problems, and they are working on that. They've got a board set up down there, sewer board, and it's really coming alive, and the plan is to get all that done, and they're working on it. Water is down there now, and it's good. The Farmdale Water District is the second largest, I think, in the county. It provides water for some 3,000 households, and that relates to a lot of people. It's important. When you get up in the morning, you don't take a shower, and that water department's got to be there. It's no doubt about it. It's very important. But sewer's got to be taken care of because that's a health issue. You can't make people sick. It's got to be dealt with, and they are. And also understand that a future development been down the 127 corridor has got to have sewer and it's got to have water, or it's not going to develop. And it's there. It's just got to be improved on.
We're in a time right now where we're coming out of a pandemic. Hopefully, we're coming out of a pandemic.
Well, just.
And we're at a time when things are getting more expensive. We're kind of in global uncertainty as far as peace, and that affects how prices go. Our gas prices are rising, our grocery prices are rising, and we're at a time when even in our homes and our businesses and in government, we're going to have to buckle down. We're going to have to be more efficient in how we spend our money. So we ask this question of our candidates every time they come in here, but do you think perhaps it's the time to revisit the option of a merged form of government in order to be more efficient?
Well, merged government question comes up in this county frequently, and it will again soon because there is some support or some starting the discussion.
Sure.
Merger, I think before you could say what you thought about merger, you have to see a plan. There is no plan. You can talk about merger, but if you don't see some documents explaining of what this plan is, it doesn't exist. The plan doesn't exist until you see that. A person say, "I'm for merger, I'm against merger." How do you know? It's kind of like saying, I believe in ghosts, but I never have seen one.
Yeah. So
you have to. I believe in order to make an intelligent decision, you've got to see a plan, and I'm waiting to see it.
Okay, well, if there wasn't a merger, and there's no talk. I mean, there's no plan for merger right now.
There's no plan. You can't be for a ghost.
So what can you do as a member of the fiscal court to ensure that a city and county government work better together?
That is the most important question, I believe, here today, because if you do not have merger, you're going to have to cooperate with each other. There has to be more interlocal agreements. We have to work together. There's all kind of projects that neither county or the city can afford without them going together, and to move this county toward, and the city, but I'm running for county office,
right.
But move it together. They have to be work together. We have to do that more.
So what are the steps that need to be taken to make sure that happens? Because I think there have been like joint things and they've dissolved and all that stuff.
That's a very difficult question. What steps you need to put together so you can be sure you're going to work together on everything. You could always set up another committee, but there's too many of them anyway. But the fiscal court and the city council probably need to have meetings together occasionally to talk about those issues that are floating around out there that they can work together on, and some of them they probably can. I mean, the county is not going to fix city streets, and they're not going to fix county roads. That's faced facts, and they got separate funds for that. Yeah. So it's important, I believe, that they understand each other's issues better, and that way they need to have a few joint meetings a year, not that many, and they could have an agenda of planning and zoning, or what about our master plan, all those things that they already do, and can we expand on that and make it better for the citizens?
Yeah. So, one thing right now is in our community, we have 2 park systems. We have, the city has their park system, and they have a master plan, park plan, and the county has the Lakeview park plan. And would you see the advantage of possibly just merging like the parks departments to be more efficient?
Franklin County, Frankfort Park System would not be above my thinking. I would believe that you could work together and you could provide more opportunities for the people who use the park system, which is mostly young people, but younger than me anyway. But anyway, it's very important. You go down there on a softball day, on a nice day, there ain't even where to park. I mean, it's people playing everywhere. My grandson played football down at the Lakeview Park, I believe. But anyway, it's always people parking up and down the side of the road, and that's a strain. But those are services provided. It's basically free. I mean, unless you swim, and the park plan has been adopted. But see that I've been around it a while, and I've seen those things we'll accept this plan, but then it goes on the shelf.
Well, let's talk about that plan for a minute.
Okay, open the door here.
It was on my list.
Okay.
So, are you familiar with the Lakeview Park Plan as it has been presented and then accepted by the committee?
I'm not completely, but I am familiar. I went to a couple of meetings. The last one, which I've talked about this, they tried to have a Zoom, and it was bombed, and it just blew that meeting up. And that was very unfortunate that stuff like that can happen in 2022. It's unbelievable that we don't have some kind of civility. Is that the right word? Sure. But anyway, but past that, I do understand, and I understand they got the huge convention center that's included in that. I think there needs to be a convention center here. Whether it's that one or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
If I'm elected, I assure you that every major decision will be fully vetted, and all the public has ample opportunity to put input in on that, and that has to be paid for. That's probably a $50 million.
That was my next question. They're saying that it may be up to $60 million.
It could be 60. Everybody says
cheap.
It's a lot of room. Well, we're going to bid it out. It's going to $50 million. It's going to come in costing 70.
So
who knows?
How does the county pay for that?
There's only one or two ways.
Yeah.
First of all, that's a complete opportunity for the city and the county to work together, because you get a great thing it both benefits from. But there's 2 or 3 ways you'd have to pay for. Number one of them is you'd probably have to do a bond issue. Now, that's voted on by the people. So if the people wanted to, somebody tells you how much payroll tax you have to put on to pay for that over so long, and then you just put it on the ballot. Yeah. This is a $50 million bond issue, and it takes a half a cent payroll tax for 20 years, and when it does, it sunsets and goes away. That's one way. Yeah. But then that takes it completely out of the government hands once you put it on the ballot. Now, you can't, this is not a referendum state, so you can't just say, are you for this park or against it? Yeah. But you can vote on a bond issue.
Okay. So just in general, what do you see as the community's need in a park, in parks? What do we need?
Well, what they got. I mean, you got soccer fields, and you got softball fields, and basketball courts, tennis courts. I mean, you got everything, really you can. They've been bringing up the swimming pool's not included in that plan. Right. Do they need a swimming pool? Maybe, but you need to ask the community that they need it. You got to have these meetings. Do you want it or not want it? Are you willing to pay? Maybe you can do it in stages, and that way you can do a lot of that plan. Yeah. And that's kind of the way I would approach that anyway, because there's so much. I don't play soccer. I see people running around. I don't see how they run that long. But then I do swim. I do play golf. And I do some things. Used to shoot a little round of basketball every now and then, but my grandson's moved off, and I'm getting too lazy. Other than that.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about economic development and growth. Okay. it comes around every time in election season. All the candidates, they talk about how they're pro-growth and we need to grow more. Franklin County hasn't grown, and a lot of that kind of revolves around the economic development of our community. And people have different definitions of what that means. So what does economic development mean to you? How do you define that?
Well, economic development is, first of all, it's not industrial development. Industrial development is smokestack chasing. Economic development includes tourism and entrepreneurship and service industry, which state government, I guess, and Buffalo Trace. It includes everything, not just an industrial park out here. So it's very important to this. It's very important. I am pro-growth, and I am for economic development. KCDC, the whole. I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in. You have to do that to make this county become what it should be or what it is, and keep developing it. Let's move on. Let's make it better.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's bad by any means, but.
Well, you mentioned KCDC, and that's on my list of things to talk about. What do you see as that organization's role in the economic development vision for our community?
Well, they're pretty much in charge of the personnel that's recruiting the industry here, and their role would be to meet with their staff frequently and decide if they, you can't. There is amount of secrecy that has to be done on economic development, especially if you're recruiting an industry or a service organization or something to promote tourism. You don't want somebody else to know what kind of cards you've got on the table. So that has to be tight, close to your vest. Anybody, is that state, county, everybody has to do that. And you have to have somebody in charge of that. You can't just come to the fiscal court meeting or the city council meeting and say, okay, we're talking to Kentucky Fried Chicken to build the chicken processing plant out here.
Right.
No, you can't do that. And I'm certainly don't want to start a rumor here, please. So, but anyway, their role is to be that buffer and to promote this. Those members are appointed. It's a nonprofit, and it does have. I think Terry Bradshaw is the director of that right now, and you can see her benefits or not benefits, but all I see is fine with me.
So on the fiscal court, they partially fund KCDC. Is that something you would continue to
Yes,
support?
I would. That would be part of what's left after you get to fund it. After you fund your mandates, that's part of what you got left to put. How much emphasis do you want to put on KCDCs? Right there. How much money are you going to give them? How much money are you going to give the parks? Right down the list. But you got to fund the jail first, because that's a mandate.
Sure.
One of them.
So, same question for Downtown Frankfort, Inc. DFI has been partially funded by the court. What do you see as their role in our community, and is that something you would continue to support?
I probably would Oh, yes. First of all, yes, I would support it. I would support that. I think that is a draw. I think it's tourism draw. I think it's can work well with the amount of people coming in to visit our community, and for the people that live here. I go down there quite often. I like going downtown Frankfort. It's enjoyable to me.
Sure.
I'm not. I act much younger than I am. But anyway, I would actually go so far as to say that I would strongly consider funding that even more, because it's got to be a draw and a pillar of the community. What are you going to say? Well, don't go downtown. There's nothing down there. Nope, not me. I think they do a pretty good job. They put on those concerts and stuff going down there quite often. And maybe I can expand. The more the better, because wintertime nobody obviously, but spring's coming. Here now.
Right.
Have I rattled on enough?
No, I have more. So for a while now, just the people in the community who pay attention to what's going on in government, we hear a lot about planning. We've heard about master plans, comprehensive plans, strategic planning, and we understand that planning is very important when you are trying to get things accomplished. You have to have a plan, but at some point there has to be actions taken, implemented. So what specifically, as a magistrate on the fiscal court, what steps do you think need to be taken to create jobs here in our community? And I'm talking about jobs that have family sustaining wages, because a lot of people think that is what's really important when we talk about economic development. It's family sustaining wages, jobs.
Well, first of all, this is obviously everything we say is our own personal opinion.
Sure.
But I'll be as a member of fiscal court, I'm going to be a team player with the judge and the fiscal court.
Sure.
But our planning and strategic plan, I get my tongue twisted around.
Yes.
It's very important because we still need to grow good jobs, benefit jobs, and if you're going to recruit minimum wage jobs in this town, let them go somewhere else, because we need wage, and there has to be some of those, but you got to have enough family sustaining wages or it will not work. You can't just go out there and say, well, this company or that company. You got to have one that pays a decent wage. There is in my opinion, the state government is generating a lot of economy here. Buffalo Trace is. And then third thing to me is what you can lump all of the entrepreneurship, service industry, and all that together is probably 7,000 or 8,000 jobs. But then education, you got 3 high schools and Kentucky State University here. It's huge, and people should not turn their back on education and not think about it. You got many employees, and that's a generator too. And maybe we should look at how I don't know how you make more schools, but anyway, right. I mean, we should be very aware of the economy that education provides here, including, and not to forget, Kentucky State is one of those.
Sure.
Now, I've danced around that, but in the end, I promote, I am all for plans that include development for higher paying, high tech, whatever kind of jobs they are that pay not minimum wage.
Yeah. You mentioned Buffalo Trace. And
maybe I shouldn't have.
It was on the list. As some people may not know, but Buffalo Trace has proposed an expansion project, which expands into the Peaks Mill area. We have folks that are very supportive of that, folks who aren't. So I will ask you, as a candidate for magistrate in the fiscal court, who this will come before the court, do you support Buffalo Trace building these warehouses in areas in Peaks Mill that are currently zoned agricultural and rural residential?
Well, that's a pretty direct question.
It is.
Buffalo Trace is a huge part of this community. Yeah. They have partnered with every charitable organization here, I guess, at one time or another. It means a lot of tax revenue and support for this community. Every time they build a warehouse, it's over $1 million a year income to the county. You can't just turn your back and say, well, I'm sorry about your luck. Somebody, and you got to look at Peaks Mill. Those people are concerned about that. It's not invented into them. They seriously think that, and hopefully they can work out a mutually agreeable decision to make it go forward, because it's got to go. I think it has to go forward. So, but hopefully they can work something out, and then everybody be happy.
Yeah. So, if on the court there are going to be issues like this, because we have other projects that are high profile besides Buffalo Trace. There's the rezoning of Duncan Road. How do you make those decisions when you have so many, maybe even in your district, people who are one side or the other? A lot of times when it comes down to, especially with development projects, people boil it down to you're either, pro-development or pro-preservation. So how do you balance that? What are your tipping points?
Well, the only way I think you can go forward with that is to make sure on those major decisions, we're not talking about paying the light bill downtown or nothing. Sure. We're talking major decisions. You have to give the public ample time to understand the issue, as well as yourself as a county official, before you can make that decision, and what's good about rezoning or what's bad about rezoning, and how it benefits in the long run. And of course, that's what our planning and zoning is all about too. They should be looking down the road and staying within the master plan the best they can, comprehensive plan. And that's the reason you change zones sometimes, because you want more development or less, or this is where else you're going to put subdivisions, except, you know, you run out of space, you got to put them somewhere else.
Right.
And growth's going to cause some of that. But you got to have everybody to understand and try. You're never going to get everybody together 100%.
Yeah.
But you got to make sure everybody knows the issue and understands it.
Yeah.
And they will. All major issues will be, if I'm there as much as I can, they're going to have an opportunity to understand what's happening.
Okay, well, over the past few years, it's become apparent here in our community that we need to start depending less on state government and focusing more on private sector jobs, entrepreneurship, in order to bring new business in rather than just relying on state government. What is your vision for improving the climate in Franklin County for businesses, and how can we become more competitive with our surrounding counties to bring in new business?
Well, that's a good question too.
Yeah.
You have to, if you're going to be competitive with your surrounding counties, that's how you're going to build something away from other than state government. I mean, it's not, state government's not going anywhere. That's one thing you can say. It's here. It ain't going to. They're not going to move the Capitol down the street. You know.
Right.
You know, like some other industries can and other businesses. So we have to keep in mind that we're in a competitive state with every county that surrounds us, and maybe even throughout the whole state. So what we have to do to make sure of that is we need to have maybe some one-stop shopping where people can get all their license, get all the information they need, and can make those applications in the same place very quickly. I know everybody talks about that constantly, about one-stop, better, all that, but you know, you got to have a tax rate that benefits the people coming in and also the workers and the community. You can't just have it. You got to have money to operate. Government's necessary, where a lot of people like to say it's not, but it is.
Yeah.
And it touches you every day. So that's the reason you have people like Terry Bradshaw, and she should be making the recommendations that to make this people like her, and maybe KCDC should just come and said, this is what we need to do to make our community more attractive to some industries that will compete with other counties.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that we don't compete with them. I mean, the facts are you got Lexington, Fayette County, and Louisville not too far from here, and it's tough to, you know, they got a lot of means there, and they got a bigger labor force, and but people can come here and to work, and they will. We go there to work. They're going, but we got to get. We have to understand what makes us competitive, and it's not necessarily all tax rates. You got to have a community where people are willing to live here. And that's very important. If you're going to have some company come in here, say they got to have a place where their managers to live that want to live.
Yeah.
Want to live here, something to do, something for their children to do, good schools, the whole thing, recreation.
We'll have a good community.
Good community, absolutely. Community development is unbelievably important.
Right.
You got to have a good community, or you're not going to have anybody come here.
Well, we sure do appreciate you stopping in today and talking to us. We're just about done. I'm going to give you a minute to speak directly to our viewers who are your voters and tell them why they need to vote for you on May 17th.
I'm Richard Tanner, and I'm the most experienced candidate running. I can hit the ground running. I don't have to have 2 years training. I know how fiscal courts operate because I've worked for them for 30 years or more. I pointed out that I was a farmer, an educator, served honorably in the National Guard. I have a BS and a MS from Murray State University, who I might add is doing very well in a tournament right now. It's those things give me an experience and understanding on how to make this community go in the direction it needs to be. This is the only capital county in the state of Kentucky. It's the only one it ever will be, and I think we need to make sure you elect me, which can help it become a stronger capital of the county, capital county. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I appreciate again you all allowing me this opportunity to present myself. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you. And again, we appreciate your time. I know the voters appreciate it because they like to hear from the candidates. So thank you. And I want to remind the viewers to go vote on Election Day. That's May 17th. And then go home, tune in to Cable 10 and watch live election returns, because we will have you covered on that. It's election season, everybody. Oh,
Could I add one thing?
please do, quickly.
502-330-8148. Anything you need to know about me or my qualifications, what I stand for, give me a call.
Okay, call Richard, y'all. So anyway, it's election season, so this is your opportunity to get informed. Then you have to go voice your choice. See you next time.